Hey everybody, welcome back to the 80s Slashers YouTube channel. In this video, I will be discussing and reviewing the 1988 slasher film, The Undertaker. In this video, I'll talk about the plot of the film, the kills, the setting, the nudity. I'll discuss the Blu-ray itself before wrapping up with some final thoughts. Of course, this film, as you can see on the cover here, it stars Joe Spinell, and this is actually one of his final roles. I think this is one of his last. It might be his last like major leading role, and he ever did in a film before his death in 1989. And honestly, in some ways, that fact alone was kind of a major selling point, at least for me. You get one last chance to see Joe Spinell doing these types of films. Yeah, it's just something that's definitely appealing. Luckily, luckily for us, Spinell is in top form here. He really delivers a just a really fun, creepy just a really fantastic performance. And you know what? Fortunately, I found that this performance in this film from him is not the only redeeming quality to this film. There's quite a bit because I'll say it right now. I enjoyed The Undertaker. I thought this was a lot of fun. I'm kind of surprised, actually. I wasn't, my expectations were fairly low. This is like a late 80s slasher. A lot of these they have a different feel, a different vibe, usually like these late 80s. It's kind of, the genre has kind of shifted. It's moving into the 90s, and that early 80s style is usually nowhere to be found. Um, but yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things about this film that made me like this quite a bit, and we will discuss them. But before we do, let's just get right into this, and we'll talk about the plot. All right. So, the plot of this film, it's not too elaborate, to be honest. Basically, we open up, we see like um a woman driving down like a backcountry road, and her car breaks down. She's like a flat tire, and she gets picked up by like a hitchhiker, and or like a guy in a sorry, she gets picked up by like a guy in a motorcycle, and things go whatever. He tries to assault her, she gets away, uh and then she gets picked up as she's kind of hitchhiking, kind of, she gets picked up by um Joe Spinell, and we kind of skip forward and we realize that he's the town undertaker. He owns a funeral home, and we see that the girl he picked up ends up dead, and she's in his funeral home, and he's working on her, getting her ready for her funeral. And we kind of see him being weird with the body, talking to the body, kind of caressing, doing some really weird, creepy stuff. And one of his family members who lives and works at the funeral home, um, his nephew, notices this. He's kind of spying on him, and he runs out, and he gets all anxious and nervous because he hears and sees stuff, and so he kind of takes off, and then the story kind of progresses to the nephew going to his school. He's like I think he's in university. I think he's in college, and he has a teacher, a professor who's like a young girl, young woman, I should say, like for a professor, and she's teaching things about like necrophilia. Uh, whatever course they're in, I don't know, but she's talking about necrophilia in this course. And so after class, uh, he wants to talk to her about necrophilia because he has concerns about his uncle Roscoe, who owns a funeral home, and she doesn't take him too lightly, but he keeps persisting. And they basically the nephew drags his professor into this little investigation to try to figure out what is going on with her uncle. Um, and at the same time, other women kind of show up dead, and there's all these accidents or things keep happening in this town. People keep getting killed, and of course, when they get killed, where do they go? Their bodies get brought to the funeral home to Uncle Roscoe. So is he killing these women just so he can get them back alone, naked, in his funeral home to do weird, twisted things to them? That's kind of the basic concept of this film. He's doing these bad things, and there's people, his family members and other people in the town are trying to figure out what exactly is going on. They're investigating him. And of course, then it becomes kind of like a cat and mouse thing. He starts realizing he's being investigated, the people are looking into him, so he has to maybe go out of his comfort zone of killing these women to just to bring him back to his morgue to do things to him. He has to start maybe taking care of other people and killing other people, and it goes on and on in there, and it kind of just meets to a big conclusion at the end. That's basically the simple plot of what this film is about. So yeah, like I said, nothing too elaborate, but it works. It's pretty good. So I'll get the obvious out of the way right away. So, um, yes, there are some similarities with, the 1980 Joe Spinell film Maniac. Um, Joe Spinell's character in this film, Uncle Roscoe, uh, gives off a lot of similar vibes to his Frank Zito character in Maniac. He's not. I would say the character in this film is not as perverse or deranged as Frank Zito, but he is still both of those things, just kind of to a lesser degree. So yeah, there's definitely like you watch you can't help like Joe Spinell is a very distinctive looking person. He talks very distinctive. It's just you can't really escape that. Like he's not gonna be someone completely different. He is who he is. So there is that similarity. But then there's also there's other things. Like there's a lot of like the POV shots, like that you kind of see in Maniac, kind of trying to view from like the eyes of like a crazy person. You get that in here as well as he's kind of hunting and stalking the victims. You get like those POV shots, and you have that the same heavy breathing, like the as he's like looking through windows, and it's very reminiscent of some of those scenes from Maniac. So, was it intentional? Probably, I would say, but I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just pointing out that there is similarities between this and Maniac. At least for me, it kind of came off like that. But bottom line, like for me at least, who cares? Spinell is an amazing villain. He's just a natural at playing this sort of role. Just like the creepy, sleazy type of vibe. Um, yeah, he's great. He's like worth the price of admission. That's what you're watching this film for. His name's right on the main poster art. So yeah, I dig it. I really like him. So now another similarity is that this film uh, at times is also pretty sleazy, similar to like say how Maniac was. Maniac's like just a sleaze fest, the whole thing, just like the kills, the nudity, just the all the locations, his home, his like the subway, like just New York City at night, just everything with that film is sleazy. This doesn't have that feel throughout. Um, like I said, at times there's a lot of sleazy stuff going on, especially when we get to like the kill scenes and some of the nude scenes. Those are really like the sleaze factor gets turned up quite a bit during those moments, and there's quite a few of them. So, a lot of this film does have some sleaze, but it's just it doesn't have that permeating um, overall feel of like Maniac did. But honestly, like just the whole like the concept of this film, just an undertaker or like a mortuary or funeral home worker, going out and killing, like eyeing pretty women that he likes, like, oh, I like how she looks, and killing her, and then going home and waiting for the cops and stuff to deliver his kill victim back to him so he can put her in his basement and do whatever he wants to her. Just that whole concept is really disturbing and pretty sleazy. So Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's great. I enjoyed it. If you watch this channel, you know I like the sleaze. I like these films with a little bit of sleaze. So for me, it was really good. But besides the sleaziness, the this whole film just has just like the it has a good tone, a good feel to it. It's kind of hard to explain. It's just it was comforting, like when you're like not during like the killing and the sex scenes and all that stuff. Just like the broader scope of the film, just like how it felt, like the regular other scenes. It just felt good to me. It just had a good look. It had a good vibe. I don't know. It was just pretty enjoyable for me to watch. So yeah, I like that about this. Other things that I kind of dug. The pacing for this film and plot wise was good. I was never bored. I felt like it went by at like it's a little less than an hour and a half, and it felt like that. It felt pretty brisk. It didn't. There was no big lulls and like moments with like big long speeches. Everything was kind of going at a good clip, and it just yeah, like I said, it was. I was never bored, and it felt really comfortable. Like it was the story played out really well. There's some really fun, like a fun 80s like synth score, like the track and stuff. It's just really fun. Again, it just captures this time period, just the late 80s, and yeah, I really dug that about it. Now, the acting in this film is not great. Spinell, of course, is awesome, and I'd say like half the cast were pretty good actors. But then, a lot of the other like lesser members of the cast, whatever, smaller roles, they were not great. There were some rough scenes for sure, but nothing offensive. Like we're not talking like Don't Go in the Woods and Splatter University and Boarding House, like that level of acting. Um, yeah, nothing offensive like that, but they weren't a lot of the actors weren't great, but again, it didn't bother me. It didn't take me out of it or anything like that. Like sometimes the acting is so bad it just takes you out of the cuz like you feel like you're watching people trying to act and they're doing it poorly. And it's not what it felt like in this. They just weren't great actors, so I don't know, maybe something to note. And last thing I'll say, the conclusion of this film, like the overall the conclusion was fine. At the very end, like literally, like like the last shot. I won't spoil it, but there's like one of these last shot, like the freeze frame, kind of like the last minute jump scare. They did something here which was kind of questionable for me. I don't think I liked it. I don't like when they do that. It's kind of just like a cheap thrill, and it kind of didn't agree with the plot. It didn't seem plausible, but anyway, sometimes these films like that they want they want people to leave the theater talking about, oh, that last moment, and as they're coming out, they're talking about the scare. Maybe other people will hear them coming out of the theater. I don't know. It kind of felt like that cheap little vibe they tried to throw in at the end. Didn't work for me, but anyway. But yeah, overall, the Undertaker has. I thought it was a solid plot. It works well. There was some like I said, some sleazy fun sprinkled in, which I really liked. So yeah, in terms of plot, I was quite happy. It went by at a brisk pace, and it didn't bore me at all. So yeah, this was pretty good. So definitely enjoyed it for this. All right, let's move on, and we'll take a look at the setting. All right, so yeah, the main setting for this film obviously takes place in a funeral home. And honestly, the secondary setting for this, there's a lot of the film that takes place in like the school, like a college setting, like in classrooms and stuff, because one of the main like subplots is Uncle Roscoe's nephew is having conversations and dealings with his one of his professors. So there's a lot of time in the classroom and like after classroom and just having conversations, walking down the halls and stuff like that. So not a lot, but there is kind of a secondary school setting, which is great. Late '80s school is always appreciated. Um, Now, I have to say, neither of these two settings, like the funeral home or the school, they didn't really stand out as like overly dominant. It wasn't like 60, 70, 80% of the film was in the funeral home. It didn't feel like that was like just like a major part of the film. It just part of the film was there, and then they left and they went other places. It just was kind of, I don't know. There wasn't like a dominant setting for me, I guess. I don't know, and that's too bad. I wanted them to feature more of the funeral home because it is a it's a cool place to set a slasher film. I just don't think there was enough in it. Now, near the conclusion of the film, there was more. Obviously, that like a yeah, a lot of the conclusion of the film took place in the funeral home, which was good. That's where it probably should have been. But yeah, I just wish they would have used it a little more. I should say another little, I guess, sub setting. Um, there was a couple times there was like a movie theater that we got to see. It was more than once. They went back two, maybe even three times to this movie theater setting because some of like the cast members worked there, and it was kind of they were also part of. There was like another investigation. It wasn't just the nephew who was, suspecting him. There was someone working at the movie theater. So we got to see a couple of scenes at the movie theater, late 80s movie theater. It was great. It was really cool. It was really fun that was that popped in a couple times. So, another fun thing for the setting. But, uh, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I just wish that there was more in the funeral home because, like I said, it's a really good place for a setting. It's for one of these films. It's like super creepy, obviously a little sleazy. There's like caskets everywhere. There's like dead bodies just laying on tables. Some of them are covered up. Some of them are nude. All like the embalming fluids. You see him like just like doing his regular undertaking duties, and it's creepy. It's a weird spot. It's not something that the regular person has access to that sees often, so seeing a film set in there, like I just wanted more of it, I guess. So I don't know. So yeah, so overall I would say, the setting is not the strength of this film. They obviously underutilized the funeral home in my opinion, but um, it was fine. The setting is fine. It just nothing really stood out. There was some, like I said, fun moments at the funeral home, fun moments at the movie theater. The school is always cool to see, so it was all right. Nothing too dominant that stood out, but yeah, it was fine. So all right, let's just move on and let's take a look at the kills. All right, so The Undertaker has a total of 8 kills in this film, which that's a solid number for sure. I thought there was plenty of kills in this film, which is great. That's what you want, right? This is what we watch these films for. It's a slasher film. Now, in terms of the pacing, I thought again they did really good with the pacing of these kills. Basically right from the beginning right up into the end, there was basically kills constantly sprinkled throughout. All these eight of these kills was every like I don't know 5-10 minutes you got a kill, which is exactly what you want. So yeah, pacing wise, really good. Now the kills themselves, again, I was quite pleased with the kills in here, and kind of a little surprised because again, late 80s, they everything kind of got tamed down a little bit. Like there's standards like Intruder is a 1989 film. The kills are crazy in that film. So there's exceptions, and this is one of them because this film has some pretty good kills. There's it starts a little slow at the beginning. Some of the kills they aren't too graphic, but as the film goes on, it seems like the violence and the practical effects we get, it ramps up, ramps up, ramps up as we go on, and we start getting some really good stuff near the end. So that's kind of how we're structured, which is great. That's fun. Yeah, so like the first few were kind of tame a little bit. You see some blood effects and stuff like that. Um, but eventually we get some really good kills that utilize practical effects pretty good. And yeah, there's some fun creative highlight kills for me. There was like a just an intestine effect of like a person there with their guts ripped open. You see like their intestines just like hanging out. Looked really good, looked really cool. there's a kill that involves someone getting like with a hot stove top, like the burner on the stove, and they just get their head like pushed right into the top of the stove burner. And that's a really cool kill, and it's also like kind of like a rapey thing. We'll talk about that, but yeah, like at this time, like this person's head is on the grill, and then they're kind of getting assaulted from behind as this is happening. It's a yeah, it's kind of a highlight. It's kind of a good one. Um, and there's a really cool eye gouge with like a scalpel in someone's eyeball, which is gross and pretty cool. There's even like a decapitation. So yeah, there's definitely some good stuff in here. You know, are they the best practical effects in the genre? No, but they're good enough, and they're pretty good. It's pretty gory, and like I said, they're just kind of um they're pretty unique and graphic. You know, like the stove, the face burning, and the intestines hanging out. It's good stuff. It's fun. Now, a lot of these kills are quite sleazy in nature. You know, a lot of the time the women are either like nude, or they're like dead bodies. Like you kind of seeing like some of these practical effects on like dead bodies. They're nude, but they're dead bodies. There's some implied like necrophilia going on. And like I said about like that stove one, there's some rapey stuff going on like as you're watching. So all of these kills they're pretty sleazy. Every time it comes in, it kind of the tone of the film kind of shifts to this, um, yeah, just this different tone. And then once the killing's over, it kind of goes back to like going into school or a movie theater, people having fun. But then the kills come in, and it just is the sleaze kind of slowly oozes in a little bit, and then it kind of goes away. It's just kind of the way the film plays out. I don't know. I liked the kills in this film. I did. I think they're quite solid, has some decent practical effects, and like I said, they all just had just a kind of a little bit of an edge to them, which I always like. So yeah, so kills in the Undertaker, I was pleased with, so I can't complain. All right, let's move on and take a look at the nudity. All right, so this film I had a total of 6 nude scenes, which again is a solid number. Usually you get 2 or 3 in these films. This one has quite a bit of nudity, and each of these scenes, some of them are shorter, but some of them are quite long. So yeah, there's a lot of nudity in this film, I would say. As with the kills, obviously all of these nude scenes, they're all pretty sleazy in nature. Uh, like I said, most have some sort of like rapey element going on, like some kind of an assault or whatnot. Like I said, necrophilia, uh, kind of vibes going on with a few of them. Yeah, it's they're not your typical gratuitous girls running around the shower laughing, giggling, or like the sex scenes. It's they're edgy. They got like a serious tone going on. Like people are getting killed while they're naked. So that's the type of stuff you're gonna see in this film. Um, Again, like the plot and the kills, the pacing of the nudity. Like there's so much nudity in this film. You can talk about how it's paced out, and it's pretty good. Like I said, it's pretty constant throughout the film. There's women taking their clothes off almost the entire film. Within the first 6 minutes, there's actually 2 nude scenes. I was like, wow, okay. So they kind of threw a little in there to let you know what you're in for. Then they kind of sprinkled the rest throughout. So that's kind of just like the kills. It's just everything's kind of evenly balanced, which I like that. That's what we're watching these films for. Let's be honest. Let's not pretend like we're watching them for the acting and the great screenplay. We're watching these for the blood and the nudity. Let's be honest. That's what we've always watched these films for in the 80s and still today, I think. Um, yeah. Now, like I said, most of the scenes, the nude scenes, like I said, they involve death in some sort. But there was there was like a shower scene starring like the main girl, and I don't know why. I always like because usually the final girl, the main girl, she usually doesn't get naked. Everyone else has that role, but she's the good girl. She's the survivor. She's the anyway. The main girl in this film, she has a really long fairly gratuitous shower scenes. So yeah, again, it's kind of breaking the mold of the formula a little bit, I guess. So yeah, so that's the one. There's a sex scene that's a little gratuitous as well, but yeah, and I should say this is like what 1988. There is a lot of attractive women in this film, and they all share a couple of the same characteristics, if you know, on their body types, if you know what I mean. They're all very well endowed, I guess you'll say, and yeah, and you get to see a lot of them. So that's kind of, you know, like I said, the theme of this of the film, I guess. So anyway, yeah, so The Undertaker is definitely a film that is filled with quite a bit of nudity. So if you like these films, like I said, with that sleazy edge to it, you're probably definitely gonna enjoy this. All right, enough about the nudity. Let's move on and take a look at this Blu-ray. All right, so yeah, so this Blu-ray here, like I say, it was released by Vinegar Syndrome. This, I don't know if you still can. It comes with a slip cover, a really nice slip cover. I didn't get it. It may be sold out. I'm not sure. I like this cover. I like the black in, like, you know, like the tie with like the machete. It's great. It's just so simple. Just a little bit of color. It's great. I think there is reversible cover. Oh no, there's not reversible cover art. Yeah, just good old Joe Spinell. So yeah, two discs, as you can see, Blu-ray disc and a DVD. Um, and in terms of special features, there's scanned and restored in 2K from its original 35 millimeter negative. Um, we have a commentary track, and there was like a making the Undertaker interview. It's like a yeah, it's basically an interview. It's about 20 minutes. So that's good. That's some good extra bonus. There's some outtakes and the promotional video stuff and pictures and all that stuff. It says reverse cover artwork. I didn't get that. Oh well, just but yeah, in terms of um, special features and what you get, like it's a pretty good package. There's probably not a lot. Now, okay, before I get to the video, audio, it sounds fine. It sounds good. So yeah, so good special features and well, decent special features. Nothing elaborate. You get 20 minutes in a commentary track. In the audio, everything sounded great. Now, the video. It says here, it says, yeah, like scanning was stored in 2K, and then it says with select shots sourced from tape elements. So what that is it says at the beginning there's like a warning screen or whatever before the movie starts, basically saying that there is 6 minutes of the film that they cannot find the film elements for whatever reason. So the best they were able to do was they found some VHS masters or something like that. Basically, they took VHS and they tried to do the best they could. They tried to restore these VHS elements and they inserted them back in. They said we did our best. Um, they don't look good. The 6 minutes of footage doesn't look good. It looks like VHS. It doesn't even look good VHS. It looks like poor quality VHS. But this was a long lost film. Nobody thought we were ever gonna get it on DVD or Blu-ray. So I don't care. But I'm just telling you, like the 6 minutes does not look good. And unfortunately, all the 6 minutes seems to be right near the end of the film. A large majority of it, and it's during like a kill scene. There's like a nude scene, so it's really too bad that those are the parts that had that. It just it took me out of it a little bit. Honestly, it kind of did, like just the quality. I'm like, oh man, and then eventually once you got back to the regular film footage, it was like, oh, finally, it was a relief to get back to it. But yeah, that just be aware that that is in here. Like I said, I don't care. It is what it is. Like, this is what we get. It's either that or you miss those scenes completely. So but yeah, so just something to be note of. The other audio, or I'm sorry, the other video parts of this film looks amazing. It looks really good at times. Really good. It's one of those films where if somebody told you that, this is a film made in 2022, but it's set in the 80s, you would believe it because it looks that good. Like they did a really good job of the film restoring the film elements. There's certain scenes that just look like super crispy resolution. It looks great. So yeah, overall, this is the best you're gonna get. Like this is all you're gonna get probably. It's great. This is a fantastic Blu-ray. Super glad I have it. Like I said, pick it up at Vinegar Syndrome if you can grab it. One of their next sales, you can get it for like it's been out for a long time now, so you can get this for a good price on their while coming up is their Black Friday sale. So that would be a great time to pick this up. Like I said, I don't know if you can get the slipcover anymore. There was some I don't know if they had more than one. Sometimes they have more than one, but it was a cool looking slipcover. But I don't care that much about slipcovers, and I like how this looks. So yeah, so that's the Blu-ray. Definitely pick it up. All right, let's wrap this up with some final thoughts. All right, so yeah, I liked The Undertaker. I quite a bit actually. I like this film quite a bit. It surprised me. Because I honestly I was going in with low expectations. Late 80s slasher, something that I'd never really heard of until Vinegar Syndrome released it. And yeah, it came in above my expectations. So that's great. This is honestly it's a fun, creepy, sleazy version of a late 80s slasher. And there's not too many of those like from this era that have that sleazy factor. And you can owe it all to Joe Spinell, I guess, but yeah, it definitely has the sleaze and in that sense it's kind of unique. There's not, like I said, there's not a lot of these late 80s slashers that feel like this film, which so that's it's definitely has that going for it. Like I said, the plot is fine. It's nothing great. It's nothing too complicated, but it's not the typical plot. You know who the killer is. There's no big twist reveal, but for what it is, like I said, it's very serviceable. It works fine, and there's no gaping plot holes or anything like that. So yeah, fine plot. Um, Good number of fun, creative, sleazy type of kills with some really good practical effects. Lots of nude scenes with like really beautiful women. Late 80s beauty, if you know what I mean. Like the women, the 80s hair, the 80s style, anyway, yeah, they look good. Yeah, some good nude scenes. So yeah, so that's all great. Now, yes, there's some similarities to this with, 1980s Maniac, but to be perfectly honest, that is kind of what I wanted it to be. You know, getting more Joe Spinell doing Joe Spinell things. I think that's exactly what the filmmakers were going for, and that's what you get with this film, and I can't complain about that. Like if people view that as a negative, like, oh, this is, it reminds me too much of Maniac, then I don't know. Like Maniac is such a unique film. Again, there's a lot for that, but one of the reasons is Joe Spinell and his performance in that film. And you don't, like I said, you don't get the overall vibe that you get from Maniac. That's very unique. But you get the Joe Spinell parts in this one. And it's similar and it's great. I really liked it. So yeah, if you're in the mood for like a late 80s slasher that, is just has some really good sleazy fun, I think you'll dig this film. I do. So I'm gonna recommend it for anyone who thinks that's the type of slasher film that they're into. That's it. That's my thoughts and review of 1988's The Undertaker, starring Joe Spinell. So hopefully everyone enjoyed that, and yeah, all right. Until next time. All right. See ya.